county. And so we'll wrap that up with with a 30-minute session for question and answering. So any questions the citizens may have at that time, feel free to ask, and staff and everybody here will be glad to answer and reply and give feedback. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. McGuffin, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Anthony. Again, I'm Cliff McGuffin, Public Works Director. Our department manages the GFL contract, and we pretty much play the liaison between the citizens and GFL. So we get all the questions, all the concerns, all the comments, things people like, things people dislike, and try to help folks understand what we're trying to do, how we're trying to move forward. And Todd Best, my superintendent here, he handles most of those things. And Miss Kim, who's not here tonight, she's off. She gets all the phone calls and keeps the email string going. We have an email string daily. We talk back and forth with GFL. So if a customer calls and says their trash was missed or their recycling was missed, we send an email to GFL. They check their cameras. If it was missed, they send somebody back. If there was a car parked in the way or the can wasn't out, they see that on their dash cams. They relay that to us. We then contact the resident, let them know, hey, your can wasn't out on time, or somebody parked in the way, or there's a vehicle in the way. A lot of folks put them too close to mailboxes, too close to light poles. We get a lot of that stuff. And GFL does a really good job of responding. Since this new contract's kicked off, we've had a really good conversation. We have a monthly meeting with those guys on teams that we meet with Mike and his staff, Anthony and myself and Todd, and we discuss issues we're seeing. The cart swap out we did recently, all that was scheduled through that meeting, and put everything together. So that's kind of the role we play, and I'll be glad to answer questions later. Right now, I think we'll move on to Mr. Mike Cavanaugh with GFL. Thank you.
All right, good evening. I'm Mike Cavanaugh. I'm from GFL Environmental, and we're the ones that are contracted to do the waste and recycling services for the town of Winterville. We utilize an automated truck to collect the services. So as far as the carts themselves, we ask that they be positioned with the handles actually towards the house, so the can could pick it up and dispose of the contents. Our process for picking it up, we're using the automated trucks, so sometimes it's difficult for them to see what's inside the containers. So we follow a guideline that's provided to us by Pitt County as to what is acceptable with the recycling. And I put two examples here in the front. I know I got them as blown up as I could, so I apologize. But it shows you what is acceptable. And plastics, your plastic jugs, your metals, aluminum cans, and bimetal cans and metal cans like that have soup and canned vegetables and fruits in, papers, newspaper, office paper, cardboard, all that can be mixed together in the container. We ask that you refrain from putting them in plastic bags and into the container because, first of all, it's harder to separate the material. Second, when it gets on at the processing plant, those bags actually gum up the works on the rollers and stuff that are used, to sort or move the material through the system, and they actually shuts the machines down. So they ask that they're not put in with the container, so everything has to be unbagged. But that's why the carts are there, and it all gets put into the truck. What we've instituted this year is a service notice that we're going to put on the containers if we see something egregious that we have to leave, to notify the residents of what the issue was and why the cart was left. It's a bright green card. It can be fastened to the handle, and then the resident will have the address, the truck number, some other information, mention whether it's trash issue or recycling, And there's some examples like trash contamination, if it was something acceptable, such as oil or something liquid that's put in the waste that's unacceptable. Cardboard or construction contamination, things that aren't acceptable in the trash again. And then non-recyclable items, which are some of the examples down below. Batteries aren't recyclable. Paint cans with paint in them aren't recyclable. Coffee mugs, glassware, although you think they should be because they're a recyclable material, they're actually not acceptable through the process that is used to recycle the material. Cups like from Starbucks or something that have anything, usually it has a drink or something in it. A big no-no is stuff that's got food waste on it too. That's why they ask that everything you put out there is rinsed before it's placed in the recycling. And we will tag them. If we find something unacceptable, we'll communicate that to the Winterville office, and Kim specifically is usually who we communicate with, and let them know what the issue is. And if we do have a call, we also, like Cliff mentioned, we do use our camera system. We have cameras that can show us where the trucks are, what they're servicing, positions of cans, whether it was out or not. And it also tracks where the truck's been throughout the day. So that's pretty much all I have. So I guess I'll turn it over to Mr. Zimmer.
And I'll leave with you and to explain what we are recycling. So let me go back, give you just so a number of years ago, ECDC used to handle our recyclables, and a number of years ago, we were sending a lot of our recyclables overseas, and we were sending them material that probably wasn't the best material it was. And up in about 5 years ago, China and overseas, they said, hey, wait a minute, we're tired of you sending us all your trash. So they got really restrictive on how we could send material, and that's after it's processed over there. So that was one thing that really changed recycling. And another thing, and I'll say, we as a society, we kind of messed up, and us waste haulers kind of messed up. Way back, you might remember that we separated everything and had 4 or 5 different containers. Well, that's really the best way to do it, but obviously we don't want 4 or 5 containers in our kitchens. So we came up with the idea, let's build these material recovery facilities, a MRF, which ECDC operated. Let's put everything in one can and let's send it to the recycler and let them pick the material. Well, that worked for a number of years until China said, we're not taking your garbage, clean up your material. So what we've done over the last 4 or 5 years here in Pitt County is we've tried to make it, let's go back to simple. Let's make it simple. Reason why the amount of recyclables we're recycling is a little bit less than it used to be. I know if you pick up something, it's going to probably have a recycle symbol on there, and yes, it's probably recyclable, but is it economically feasible? And first of all, what I wanted to say, again, I do appreciate the town of Winterville doing this. People don't realize the town, city of Greenville, they don't have a, it's not hurting their pocketbook. Pitt County takes care of the cost for all recycling and all the garbage. And how that is paid is, if you get your tax bill, there's a solid waste fee on there. So that money helps cover that. So town of Winterville brings their truck, or GFL comes, to the landfill, transfer station, we don't charge for that material. And that truck goes to the recycle facility. We are charged a tipping fee there as well, and Pitt County picks up that fee. It costs anywhere from about $28,000 to $35,000 a month just for the recycling. And a part of that is contamination. Hopefully, over the next 6 months to a year, we're going to try to convince people, let's clean it up. Hence the materials. So Pitt County's asking that we be aware of what you put in the blue can. We applied for a grant this year, and we're awarded the grant, and we're getting ready to do another educational piece. We plan on doing a mailer to everybody. And I wish I'd have brought one because we've done it in the past. But basically, the mailer will have this on it: what to recycle, what not to recycle. And also on that, we've decided to get some stickers. We're going to make some stickers, and we're going to go out to everybody, and we're going to put stickers on the cans. And the stickers will just be pictorial of what can go in the container. And we haven't designed it yet, but what can go in that container. And I'm probably not going to put like the what not to do that, because then that confuses you. Just put what we want in there. Real quickly, what we do want is of course, the plastic bottles, your 1 and 2 bottles, okay? Caps on them, that's fine. We ask that you rinse them out. Paper is your newspaper, your office paper, and your cardboard. And the cardboard is the double-walled cardboard. Your Amazon box is a good example of what we want. And then your metal and aluminum cans. People go, well, what about glass? We do recycle glass. Glass, though, is we collect that at any one of our convenience centers, okay? The reason glass is pulled out of the commingle, number one, when it's put in the truck and they compact the truck, the glass breaks, it can contaminate the other items. And number two, the facility that we're taking now is owned by a company called RDS. They bought the facility from ECDC, and they have gone in and spent about $4 or $5 million investment, and they have it's pretty much all automated. It's pretty neat. If you ever want to go, they love to show it off, but it's a lot of lasers and eyes determine what material and kicks it off this way. It's pretty interesting. So we're excited about them coming here in Pitt County and help us clean up the recyclables. That's about what I've got to talk about. I would like to open up and let you ask me questions, and then I can, we can explain or go into more detail about the recycling. That's something.
If we could, if there are any questions, that will just be repeated for the recording, and then anybody can answer it. If whoever's answering it, they'll come back up to the mic and answer. So whatever questions they have, if you'll just repeat the question and then answer the question, because the mics won't pick up the questions from the audience. We meet with GFL. So the question is, how often does the town meet with Pitt County regarding recycling? I'm just repeating this for the recording. But really, what we actually meet with GFL, we don't meet with Pitt County monthly. So the question is, what is the top issue discussed in our meetings, and how are they being addressed? So I can touch briefly on that, and feel free, anybody else that joins in. But essentially, I typically join if I'm not tied up in another meeting. Mr. McGuffin and Mr. Best also join in. Then we have representatives from GFL, Mr. Kavanaugh, and Crystal Sloan. I couldn't think of her last name, but so essentially we'll go over what's been transpired. A large part of what's been discussed most recently has been the rollout and of the swap out. Initially, we implemented this because of the problems we were having with sanitation and the fact that we were going into a new contract. And we all sat down at the table and said, if we're going to make this thing, if we're going to make this engine run a little bit better, we need to have better communication. And so we started having these scheduled monthly meetings, and it can cover anything from one particular customer that had a complaint to the overall process of how we're going to get all these cans swapped out, or what the next issue is with regard to things going on with the processing plant or their trucks, service that goes along with what they're providing to the town with regard to GFL. So the question for the audience is essentially there's different types of plastics, and it was stated earlier tonight that plastic bags should not be used in the recycling process. So the answer to that question is, just put them in the container freely without the plastic bag, and the container should be rinsed, and so there's no contaminants within the container. And then the plastic bag should not be part of the process. It should just go directly into the container. And yes, please. And there's different types of plastics too. I think Mr. Demery mentioned type 1 and type 2, and he can get in. And plastic bags are another type of plastic which doesn't get recycled, but he can.
Correct. You can take them back to Food Line. A number of your grocery stores will take those bags, the grocery bags. As far as a trash bag, I'm not sure if there is a place to recycle those. What happens when people put the recyclables in the bag? If it's a dark bag that you can't see through, they don't know if it's garbage or recyclable. But plus it messes up their equipment when it's going through the process. It'll clog that up. They've got to stop it, open up the bags. So that's why they don't want the grocery bags or garbage bags in with the recyclables. Yes, ma'am. Correct. Yes, ma'am, in the trash. But you also just check, I know Food Line does it. I just went to Lowe's, the new Lowe's, the other day, and I saw they had some containers out front, that you can bring them and put them in there.
Yes, ma'am. So for the audience, the question is, there are a couple initiatives with grants and tagging programs that have been discussed tonight. And then the question is, are there future initiatives or other plans in the works to make things better?
Yes, the grant is an educational grant, and some of the things that we are gonna do, we're gonna do a mass mailer, mail it to each individual house. It'll be like on a postcard, and we've done this a couple of times since I've been here. We'll do some commercials on TV, similar to what we have done with our litter campaign. We are going to do the stickers and provide them. We'll go out and help put them on the cans themselves, and billboard, just depending on what we have. We will sit down with RDS, the company that does the recycling, because they've got to tell us what they want to recycle, and it's market driven. That's why we're trying to keep it simple. If we do this and do this right, we're ahead of the game. But yes, if we were to add another product, say your single cardboard, your cereal boxes and those types of things, that may be added, but we're not 100% sure, and that's why we're trying to stick with this. But if we do, yes, that will be what is done with the grant.
Yeah, so the question is about can size and if that's changed under the new contract, so I am paraphrasing a little bit here. So there are some cans that did change. There were some cans that were distributed by GFL under the previous contract. And so what we currently have is the 65-gallon recycling container. You know, at one point in the process, we were looking at going to bins, which, you know, wasn't even as big as a cart, but, and then possibly until RDS came into picture, you know, there was a chance we weren't even going to have recycling. So some of the containers did go to smaller sizes, and I believe that was GFL had distributed some many years ago that were larger, and so I believe that was not necessarily intended to happen, but once they had distributed them, they decided to keep them out for those customers.
Yeah, prior to my arrival, I believe some 95s sized containers were distributed, and so some residents received them cans, but the contract is contracted for 65-gallon containers. That's what we're putting out there moving forward, and anything else, you know, you could also ask for extra cans, but isn't that an extra fee?
Yeah, so you'll see on your agenda for next month, we currently only have a fee for both garbage and recycling, which is another $15. But we're proposing on the agenda this coming month for the town council to make a decision on is to add a second can for just recycling at a reduced rate, which would allow citizens, if they feel like they need additional service, once they learn what they can and can't recycle, if they still need that additional can, then that would be available to them instead of under our current situation where they're being forced to buy, you know, basically the current model requires them to get garbage and recycling. So we've got a reduced rate. It'll be, I think the recommended rate is $8 for additional recycling can. So I'll try to paraphrase that for the audience that'll be listening online. Essentially, the question is, given the current situation with regard to market and the amount of recycling that comes into the home, and the increase in fee that the town of Winterville adopted in the budget this year, why is it that we have smaller containers and reduced service with the frequency dropping to twice a month instead of 4 times a month? So I can start that off, and anybody else can feel free to join me. Essentially, this process was initially twofold. One was strictly budgetary. We were losing a significant amount of money in sanitation. I believe it was $1.2 million. So during the budget process, we presented to the council options, and through the contract process, we presented options, which included, other vendors and what their bids were, as well as options that would allow us to control cost. And we also looked at the market. In other words, we had costs in our neighboring communities, and we were nowhere even close. We were at $11.50, and the next closest one was at 15. Some of them were up to 19. And I believe if you were to contract outside of the town just for garbage once a week is roughly around 21, without all the other services that a citizen receives in the town of Winterville. And it will get Cliff to speak to all the different services that are received. So the fee, speaking strategically from a budgetary perspective, we were losing $1.2 million. We had to find and identify a way to curb that hit that the town was taking. One way was to reduce the services, which cut it back, the recycling pickup, from 4 times a month to 2 times a month. And reducing the size of the can as far as part of that process. Remember, only certain citizens had the larger recycling can. It wasn't in the contract. The contract was for the 65-gallon can. So some of those people that had the larger cans were just kind of lucky that they had the larger cans. The other component of that is really a lot of things are being recycled that shouldn't be. And so if we're actually recycling, the thought process during the budget negotiations and conversations and contract conversations were, if we're really recycling what's allowed by RDS, then we won't need as much capacity as we currently are. So we felt like reducing the actual recyclables and educating people on what is actually recyclable will reduce the volume of recyclables that go to RDS. We were also trying to reduce the amount of contamination that goes to RDS, because there was a lot of conversation in their takeover about how if they've received a lot of contamination, those fines would be passed along to the town. And so the town was taking an approach to try to reduce any fines that could come our way in the future. As far as what that fee covers, I'll let Cliff talk about that real quick.
Thank you. So as y'all all remember, when we started this discussion, the sanitation fee, a lot of people think is just for garbage and recycling. So your fee you pay every month also covers every route Todd and his guys run as far as bulk. When they pick up all your, say, house debris, or if they do couches, people move out, you get a new TV, all that kind of stuff, appliances, leaves and limbs, that's a big route we run here, and we get a lot of loads there. So that money you're paying isn't just for your sanitation as far as your garbage and your recycling. So that's a pretty good deal if you break it down as far as all the services we run. You know, and these guys do a phenomenal job. Even on short weeks like this week, they make sure everything is done. We do get an occasional miss here and there. We're not perfect like anybody, but I'd put them in the 99%. I mean, they don't miss a whole lot. We do get a lot of callbacks, or most of the callbacks I get back, folks have put it out behind the truck, and we go out and prove that. You know, the residents normally admit to it. You get a few that don't, but there's a lot of services we provide, other towns don't provide, you know, at that rate. Touching on something John said and some of your questions, drink boxes, alcohol boxes. People see cardboard, they think they can recycle it. That stuff's not accepted. That single cardboard he's referring to is the double wall, if people don't understand, is the kind that you can kind of take and mash. So flat cardboard, like a drink box is the best thing, you know, an alcohol box, cereal boxes like you mentioned. That kind of cardboard is not accepted. So we get a lot of that. And to your point, and I've told y'all this before, when I go to homes and educate people, 99% of them give me the same response. They had no idea. They did not know that stuff was accepted. And most of them tell me, why didn't y'all just do away with recycling altogether? You know, so once you educate folks, they kind of catch on. And John made the comment, for us, it doesn't, if we recycle all or we don't, the outcome's gonna be the same for us. What we're trying to do is educate folks so those fines he's discussing do not get implemented and passed along to us. So education is a big part of it, but people have to want to, you know, and that's the hardest part we're trying to get across to folks is you can put all these pictorials in front of folks, you can explain to them. Some folks have just, and I get this from people, that's how I've always done it. They're gonna continue to put the stuff in there. At that point, everything they have just needs to go in the garbage. And that's the best way to get rid of it. So that's, just wanted to touch on that so people truly understand. Because we do, you asked what we see most, plastic coat hangers. I don't know if there's a plan for that, John, but we get a ton of plastic coat hangers in these cans that we see. Todd and them ran into a lady last week that had put 2 whole bicycles in her recycling can. You know, you would be surprised at what we see. And honestly, most people just see it, I mean, most people just see it as an overflow to the garbage can. Because 85% of them we go to have bad garbage in it. And that's just, Mike and them see that every week. He's talking about some new technology they're looking at that a truck, AI may be able to pick up on stuff like that. That's probably down the road, but if you really knew how much was truly contaminated, it would blow your mind. I mean, and I invite any of you, like I've told you before, come on out one week, let's go look, and I promise you, just about 100% of the houses we go to are contaminated.
Actually, I'd like to make a comment. I mentioned this to John and John. There's one golden rule I like to always say, when in doubt, throw it out. Because if you don't and it's wrong, you risk contaminating the whole load. So a good rule of thumb is if you have any questions or doubt, you can always ask the county, ask us at GFL, or ask the Winterville. But if you have any doubt, just throw it out, because, you know, more than likely, if there is doubt, it's probably a contamination. Got a question.
The question from the audience is, does it matter about the lid on the can after the garbage or recycling has been serviced by GFL? Should it be open or closed?
We try to make sure it's closed because we don't want the elements and stuff to get in it. With the automated truck, the container is actually to the side of him, so it's kind of like a peripheral type view when he's operating the truck. The action of the truck is pretty sensitive, and we're trying to get it controlled, so when it places it down, it's not doing it fast. But right now, it's a new truck that we use for the trash, and the driver is kind of having a little bit of difficulty getting that right feel for it, so it's not snapping when it goes down. I don't know, there's some residents that have complained that, you know, there's damage or scuff marks from the container being placed in the grass. That's because the action, it's an automated arm, it's got a joystick, and it can be pretty sensitive. So as it's coming out of the top, it kind of flips, and that's what makes that lid come back. So we're working on that, and hopefully we can get that, resolved. But the intent is to make sure the lids are closed.
So the question from the audience is, what do we do about cans that are overflowing? And is there an option other than buying additional cans? Yeah, so I mean, GFL typically doesn't get out of the vehicle to pick up bags that are on, surrounding the can. They're gonna stop and dump the can that's in front of them. I mean, you can probably speak to that from a safety standpoint, but, other than that, the other option is taking it to one of the, Pitt County sites if they have, I mean, there may be somebody that does not physically have the ability to do that. But for those people, we do offer a backdoor service if they have, if they're unable to make it to the road, if they have a physical disability. We don't have a ton of those requests in town, but we do provide that as a service, and GFL works with us on that. We keep a master list of people who don't have the ability to get the can to the street, and so we will provide that service for them. So the question from the audience is, how will the tickets the tickets or flags be placed on the can if they have contamination by the GFL driver?
Yes, he will get out of the truck to issue the ticket and place it on the container. But it's usually for an egregious issue, something that is definitely, most of the times they can't see it. So, like was mentioned, if we had seen two bicycles sticking out of the container, we would put a sticker and say that's unacceptable material, But it's kind of difficult when the truck is coming up and picking it up and putting it over the head to see what's in there. Usually, the only way we know that it's contaminated is if the lid's sticking up and you could really see the stuff. Otherwise, we really don't have an idea until it's after it's done.
I want to go back to the cardboard part. Breaking down cardboard is a big thing we have. Folks just get a box in the mail or UPS or whatever, they just throw the box in their hole. Need folks to know to break the cardboard down. Make sure you're flattening it out, making it fit in the container. Yes, I understand it gets full, people shove it in there. We've had this conversation with GFL, we get callbacks all the time. They will go back out and dump the can. Because when the guy dumps it, he can't see in it. So if the cardboard's, it may only half of it come out. So we do address that. I don't know how to make, it's, people think cardboard, they think plastic. You know, they just think if it's plastic or it's cardboard, it can be recycled. I wish I knew the right answer to educate people to say that's not the case, but most people I talk to, that's what they say. I thought, well, because it was plastic, I thought I could recycle it. Or because it was cardboard, I thought I could recycle it. And I try to educate them, and Mike or John, y'all may know better, what's the right thing to say to those folks, because that's what we've been taught growing up, you know, forever. If it's plastic, throw it here, and you even see containers that just say plastic or cardboard, you just assume. So I can understand it's hard to curb that behavior, and we're working on it, but I truly don't know what to tell folks to break that mindset of just because it's plastic or just because it's cardboard, like the coat hangers and the cereal boxes and everything else. Those things aren't acceptable. But that's, to your question, Ms. Hawkins, that's the biggest thing we see, is things that truly you would think are recyclable, they just aren't.
The question from the audience is, can we go over the process for swapping out the new trash cans, blue trash cans?
Yeah, something it was posted months ago in August. We did the process where it was posted and communicated to leave your blue cans out until we got through the process of swapping them out. Not everybody did that. There's still a lot of blue containers out there. We're aware of that. If somebody does have a blue container, call down to the office and talk to Kim. She puts in a ticket. We try to do them all on Thursday. We ask that they're left out at the curb so we can collect them. Some people are asking for a swap for their blue container, but then they're bringing it in. We've got nothing to swap. So we need to swap. We want to make sure we get those containers out of the system, off the street, and all that's left are the green bins with the black lids for the recycling. So the process is you contact Winterville, they'll communicate that to us, we put it on a list, and we get it swapped out. All right?
Just to reiterate, that is for recycling. We haven't swapped out any garbage containers, it's just the recycling containers. And one other thing about containers, Manager Parker would like me to remind everybody that, you know, you don't put your cans in the street, they have to be on the curb. So, you know, not in the yard, but on the curb where the truck can get to it, but not in the street where it blocks things up either. So, yes, ma'am. So the question from the audience is, what is the process for getting on the list for backdoor service? Currently, that process, if you just call customer service, and normally they tell us, you know, hey, I have a disability, I'm not able to, you know, move the container, and that's all it is. We put them on the list at that point. So it's a really simple process where they reach out, you know. So it's not a service we offer to everybody that, you know, they have to have the disability, or a reason why they can't get it to the street, but it's not just a general service that we offer. But if somebody does have a disability or a true hardship that they can't get it out there, then we'll put them on the list. How do we verify? The question is, how do we verify? It's the honor system. Yes, ma'am, that's correct. There's no, the question is, how much is the fee for the backdoor service? There's no additional fee. From the town side. So the question from the audience is regarding what is the purpose of the tag with regard to how it will be serviced and managed with the number and frequency? Are there fines involved if there are multiple offenses? And how is that process to be managed?
At this point, hopefully, it's no more than just a training exercise, you know, trying to notify people in educational purpose to say, hey, we're trying to let you know these things aren't accepted, or, you know, just hoping we can educate folks. There will be no kind of fines or anything. Just, it's the only way we can really reach everybody without going house to house, or every time we get a call, go to that resident, which we try to do a lot, but a lot of times they're not home. So it's more just for an educational purpose, hopefully stemming a phone call so we can talk to them and explain what's going on.
So the question from the audience is with regard to requesting an additional recycling container, and what does that process look like, and what is the tenure of it? So essentially, that is an open-ended, it's not a term limit on when it, so if a customer were to call and say, I need additional container, the fees, that our staff would let them know what the fee is for the additional recycling container, and then it will be added to their bill. With regard to how that process would work, getting the cans and how long, I would recommend, if it's short-term like Thanksgiving, that you use the county's recycling site. If you have a bunch of stuff that you have just for one period of time, I wouldn't recommend going through the process of contacting customer service, adding it to your monthly bill, and then later on having to take it back off, because you may forget, or, you know, it may not be a service that you want on a regular basis. However, the process, it would fall under any other request for service where we put it on the list, and then that Thursday, when we deliver all the requests to go out, it will go out at that point. Everybody good? Any more questions? All right.
Size of the can, and it's really an industry-wide study that was done, and how much a family of 2, 3, 4 usually produce. And so that's why the cans are the size they are. And that's, you know, that's just a guesstimation, because I live by myself, and my trash can is hardly ever full. My recycle can gets more than, you know, and then a family of 6, they're gonna produce a lot more trash, and they may not recycle any. So it's hard, but the norm is a 95-gallon can should take care of the trash for a week. That's why the 95 gallons is thick.
Yeah, I can concur with what John said. I mean, I have a family of 5. I don't live in Winterville, but I live in the city of Greenville, and we put out a 95-gallon every week. I actually recycle. I'm a pretty, I recycle pretty heavily. However, we have a 95-gallon recycle cart, and I don't put it out all the time. I don't always fill it, so I put it out when it's full. So it is pretty much the sizes that are for the, in Winterville are what a typical household will generate. You know, so 95-gallon is typical. That's why that size is offered, and it's not untypical for a 65-gallon to be offered for the recycling.
I'd like to add, I appreciate the people that came tonight, residents especially. Everybody that's called me since we planned this meeting, I invited them to this meeting, because I want people to hear what we got to say. I want them to be able to ask their questions. I hope y'all putting that information out there. I don't want to just be bombarded with calls and complaints and nobody show up. It really shows me they're truly not trying to learn, or it's not that big an issue to them. But it is an issue to me. I want people to be satisfied. You want to be personable with people when you talk to them. You want to make people happy. But if we're the only ones trying, we're never going to fix it. So I want the people, if you're watching online or whatever, I mean, it takes everybody. We can't do it by ourselves. And if you do have a complaint, and we have meetings like this, you want people to show up. So I hope y'all put that out there, council members, to the folks that have been asking y'all questions. But I mean, we hold these meetings, but we never get any, nobody ever shows up. Thank you. And we enjoy communicating with the citizens. Todd can tell you, went to some lady's house the other day, just talking to people, learning about them. I mean, we enjoy that. I mean, we really do. And then most time when we get there, there's a problem, much like PD and everybody else. Once you start talking to folks and figuring out where they came from, you know, what their past is, we all want the same, we all have the same goal. But you can't just call and complain, but you're not doing any change. You know, because I can't make you put the right stuff in your container. I can go over there and drag it all out that I've done plenty of times. And when people see it, they're like, wow, I didn't know that. John, I'd like to challenge you and Mike, maybe on the cardboard side, let's break down that those single wall cardboards aren't acceptable, you know, and break it down to drink boxes, cereal boxes, anything that can help. You know, we'll all pull together and do what we got to do. But when I see that, I wouldn't know a cereal box is not, you know, one of those things.
I would say that one of the things the county's doing is we're updating our website, and we're gonna get our website right, and we have this on our website right now. But what we're gonna do is reach out to all the towns and try to get them, because 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, everybody had something different. Well, it's crazy because we're all recycling, should be recycling the same thing. So we will reach out to try to help get them information that they can update their website, so we're all telling the same story.
John, if I could point there, I get that wonderful duty here at the town. Your person if they will work one-on-one with me to get me the information, we will post it on our website also.
I did want to interject one last thing about the value of service you're getting here in the town of Winterville. Typically, for a 95-gallon container going every week, only for trash, we would charge for what we call a subscription service, is upwards of $30 a month. That's just for trash. You got to handle your recycling. So the service, if you weren't in the town and you were in Beaufort County or another county or something and got our subscription service, it would be almost $30 a month. And you're getting all the other services in addition to trash, recycling, yard waste, bulk, so.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, the question from the audience is about how bottles should be processed. Yes, you would want to rinse those out to get rid of any contaminants before it goes to the recycle process. And metal cans. And with that, I'd like to just thank the panel, everybody that came out tonight. Thank the council for setting us up and bringing this to everybody's attention and giving the citizens the opportunity to whether they took advantage or not, or whether they listen to it online later. The information is really good that was presented here tonight, and it will be available to them. And so one, that's a great thing, and then two, everybody involved that helped answer questions and coming out and joining us tonight. So just want to thank everybody for their time.
Yes, we recycle batteries, let's see, we recycle a number of things. Anything that's, we would rather you bring them to the convenience site, like glass, jars, and bottles, we recycle that at the convenience sites, and those sorts of things. But yes, we'd rather you bring them there and not put them in the bin. Don't put them in. Yes, don't put them in the bin.
If you don't mind, I want to mention some lithium batteries. Please do not put them in the trash. They cause a lot of fires. Our company's lost buildings because of the fires, fleets of trucks because of lithium batteries. So lithium batteries definitely is a no-no, but batteries and stuff, no. It's stuff like in the DeWalt, the rechargeable batteries in your cell phones, and computers. So I know that the county accepts e-waste. E-waste is anything with a cord, pretty much. So all your electronic scrap can be put at the drop-off sites. That should not be going in the regular trash.
I think if the fire chief were here tonight, he would tell you lithium batteries, do create a lot of problems. Whether they're, golf cart, or something, the little scooters that are parked in the houses or apartments sometimes, they can basically catch fire at any time. So those are dangerous items. So be careful with those. And then Mr. McGuffin wanted me to remind everybody that styrofoam is not plastic. So just PBA, public PSA there, public service announcement that styrofoam is not plastic. Yeah, the question is what happens for people who can't, get packaging and things of that nature, or for those who are disabled into the recycling bin at times like Christmas when there's a high volume. And I think I would, initial response is do what they can as best they can. But if they're in doubt, as they mentioned earlier, it's okay to disregard of it, in regular garbage. If they can't get to a recycling site because, they're not able to get to the county's site and they have an abundance, it is okay at times to go ahead and go ahead and dispose of it in the garbage. I mean, I know that doesn't really recycle every piece of recyclable material out there, but there are times if they're in question, as they mentioned earlier, if they're not sure what to do with it, just to go ahead and don't put it in the recycling because it'll create contamination problem.
Rest of it.
Mr. Moy, it is every other week, and it doesn't matter, and I push that out very religiously on a variety of platforms. It's on the website, it is on the new app, it is on Facebook, it is on Nextdoor, it's on X or Twitter, whichever way you want to call it. It is placed in the newsletter every month. So, and I know that they can call the Op Center and get it from there also. So it's out there. All people have to do is follow one of those. And if they still don't know, call us.
I will say we'll get a microphone next time to pass around, so I don't have to repeat everybody's questions. But so you learn and you make improvements. So, but thank you for everybody's time tonight.